The National Jewish Democratic Council is holding its annual summer conference in Washington this week, focusing on issues facing the Democratic Party and its relations with the Jewish community. Next, we'll hear the keynote address before the group yesterday afternoon. Democratic Governor Ann Richards of Texas talks about why American Jews should belong to the Democratic Party.
Thank you very much, Livingston. I wish Mama could have been here to hear that. It was really funny that Livingston and I did grow up together in Waco, Texas, and some years passed, and I kept hearing the name surface that this guy in Houston, Livingston Cosberg, was doing this, and Livingston Cosberg was doing that. And I said, you don't suppose that could be Dolores' little brother, do you? And of course, this very distinguished gentleman has indeed made his mark on the state of Texas in humanitarian causes. Has always been there when the need is there. I could tell you that I am here today because I am a fan of Stu Eisenstadt of a long time, and I wanted to be on a podium with him. I could tell you that I wanted to see Esther again after our years of service on Jimmy Carter's Advisory Committee for Women, which at the time we thought was an honor. I could make up a lot of reasons. I could say that I wanted to just see my friend Congressman Martin Frost again and all my good friends from Texas who are here. But the truth is I'm here because of Steve Gutto. Steve is a friend of mine since he was at the University of Texas as a student. He is one of the best that I know of when it comes to organizing, when it comes to wringing money out of you and then making you feel good because you did it. Steve was very helpful to me in the early days of this gubernatorial race at a time when it was not always easy to help me because I had a couple of opponents in the primary that didn't make it easy. So Steve asked me to be here, and despite the fact that I'm involved in a special session at home trying to solve a little $6 billion shortfall, I gave Steve Gutto my word some 2 or 3 months ago that I would be here. And so since I've always kept my word to him, I didn't see any reason to make an exception this time. I bring you greetings, probably unnecessarily, but from Ron Brown, the Democratic National Committee chairman. Of course, Vice Chair Lynn Cutler is here, and to say to you that their commitment to this organization is there, and they are all delighted at the DNC office that you are pulling yourselves together into this very worthwhile effort. I think I've already missed my plane. But if you will forgive me, as soon as I finish, I'm going to leave and try to make it. I don't usually like to rush out of a place, but I do have a little business to do at home. 5 years ago, I spent about 10 days in Israel. Steve Gutto was a part of that trip. In fact, it was because of Steve that I was able to take the trip. And he will testify to you that I was tremendously impressed. I expected a pleasant and informative experience. Like most pilgrims to that part of the world, I came away with much more. There is in Israel an intimacy with living. There's a profound sense of urgency that is unlike any that I've ever experienced anywhere else. I was taken, of course, by the antiquity of the place. You have to remember, here I am, a WASP from Lakeview, a little rural community outside of Waco, Texas. And the first foreign words that I had ever heard were words like Galilee and Bethlehem. And so to be in the place that was actually named that was a remarkable experience for me. The awareness of history seems to go back as far as the human condition. Saul Bellow wrote, "Because the people think so hard and so much, this sliver of a country sometimes seems quite large. Some dimension of the mind seems to extend into space." Well, that dimension of the mind creates an almost incredible sense of the possibilities in life, an absolute refusal to accept the natural constraints that govern most human endeavors. When you crest a hill in the desert and you look down on lush fields of cotton growing where no root should take hold, you recognize a force of human will and ingenuity that's so intense that it literally defies the force of nature. That dimension of the mind also casts its nets deep into the pool of human history and human suffering. The mists that rise up in the morning over the alabaster jewel of Jerusalem spread across a horizon that is as limitless as time itself. They hover over a landscape and a people that know the cost of hatred and mistrust, that understand from long and painful experience where political expedience out of control can lead. The tragic consequences of polarization and divisiveness are old and unwelcome companions to the people of Israel and Jews all over the world. The Jewish community has long understood that our real hope for the future lies in finding the ties that bind us together, in taking responsibility for our world by sharing the pain and the dreams of our fellow travelers on this planet. You have been committed to the concept of a pluralistic society, one in which we rejoice in our diversity, respect our differences, and cultivate our common purposes. Fostering that society in this country and in this world is the fundamental goal of the National Democratic Jewish Council. It is a goal that most Americans share, but we have our work cut out for us, my friends, because we are pushing back against the cynical political practitioners who, because they have no genuine solutions to offer, create divisive and polarizing issues that are intended to drive us apart, who are intent on immediate political gain, ignoring consequences that are corrosive and deeply harmful to this nation. I think it is serious, serious business. Among the pollsters and the pundits, they're called wedge issues. And they are literally used to create division where none existed, to play to fears and to differences. And it was bad enough when wedge issues were confined to campaigning, but now they are beginning to make their way into governance as well. Instead of using campaigns to define our goals for government, we have seen a trend of using the debate on issues within government to shape the next campaign. We are swiftly developing a system in which substance is sacrificed for tactical advantage and leadership is giving away to political opportunism. There's plenty of blame to go around. Both parties and the political commentators discuss issues in terms that suggest the only reason we have government is to prepare for elections. This tax proposal, they will say, is an obvious attempt to mobilize the middle class, or that proposal is designed to placate the big contributors. God forbid that we should take on an issue that has real meaning in real people's lives, like affordable health care. Those issues are too complex. They're too volatile, too charged, too hot. And when you get right down to it, they're just too important, seemingly, to deal with. Why jeopardize the vote count in the next election when you can fabricate issues that divert attention in a way that gives you that political wedge? Things have truly gotten out of hand when our leaders actually derail consensus in the name of political expedience. The rancorous debate over the Civil Rights Bill is a case in point. Just a short time ago, while the unifying and uplifting pride in the success of Operation Desert Storm was fresh and new in this country, calls were made to the business leaders who were nearing agreement on their negotiations with civil rights leaders. And they were told to drop out of the negotiations. And why were they told that? Because racial quotas would be an important issue in the next campaign. The focus groups had already been done. The polling was already taking place. And the phrase quota would be used over and over and over again, only in the most negative context, to suggest that we should divide people in this country rather than to find jobs for them. So, of course, an agreement on civil rights legislation, any agreement that would win the support of business, would undermine the effectiveness of the issue. Isn't that remarkable? Agreement would damage the effectiveness of the issue. Finding a solution would create a problem. Well, it's wrong. And it is particularly wrong on an issue as divisive and as inflammatory as race. Because both of us know that if it is them today, it will be us tomorrow. But we shouldn't kid ourselves. The approach is not unique. Single-issue interest groups may have the luxury of dealing with the issues head-on, but members of both parties are struggling in a system that encourages public officials to circle the issues like wrestlers looking for an opportunity to catch the opponent off balance. At a time when we take such delight in the failure of international communism and the collapse of regimes based on tyranny, we would be well advised to turn inward and shore up a democratic foundation that is steadily being eroded by the tyranny of campaign strategy. We can do a lot better than that, and I think we must, with all our flaws and all of our human shortcomings. The American people have preserved and improved this republic for 200 years. This political process and our own best instincts still give us the tools to build on the things that unite us if we will only use them. Yeah, there are those, I think, who seek to do us harm. But they are the true minority, and they are not defined by the color of their skin or the religion they practice or how they choose to lead their private lives. The majority may find different ways to express it, but we all care deeply about the same fundamentals. And the fundamentals for human beings are enough food and shelter and health, work that helps us provide those fundamentals to keep those we love safe and giving something better to our children, living with some certainty that we will be treated with simple human dignity. But my fellow Democrats, let me tell you what is happening in this country. I can remember when I was a child and I first went to a foreign country, and my parents were shocked that there were people who were obviously sleeping on the sidewalks of that town that we visited. What an embarrassment, they said, that a country would not care enough about its own people, that they would be lying and sleeping on sidewalks and begging from corners, and that children would be asking for dimes and quarters. What an embarrassment to a country. Something that would never happen in the United States of America, and now it is commonplace. Now it is commonplace in every city in this nation, and we take it as a matter of course. The jobless rate continues to increase. People out of work, fearful that there will be no hope for them and their families. The ability to get health care, more and more out of reach for the average American. And at a time when government is growing and sprawling and exploding in its size, I want you to remember that the American family has not had a mean average increase in its income since 1973. And with every meeting of the Congress or every meeting of the legislature or every meeting of the city council or every meeting of the county commissioner's court, there is a call for more money to support a government for the families of this nation who have only grown in their numbers but not grown in their income. And so I'm suggesting to you that until the Democrats get about the business of talking fundamentally what the problems are in this country, and that is health care, and that is crime, and the problems of the homeless, and fiscal responsibility of the government that is supposed to address it, then we will all be whistling in the wind. This country is convinced, because poll after poll shows it, that the people believe that the Democratic Party does care more about domestic issues. When asked about the environment, they will tell you the Democratic Party is the party that is most likely to address those problems. When asked about health care, when asked about job training, when asked about whether or not children who are abused are not cared for, those problems should be addressed, they will tell you that it is the Democratic Party that really cares about those day-to-day and domestic issues. But at the same time, they will tell you that it is the Democratic Party that's always coming up with programs, that's always coming up with initials, that's always coming up with something else to spend money to try to address those issues, and really never do. And this is one Democrat that I am here to tell you is going to start demanding, where I have the opportunity on my home turf, fiscal responsibility and a government that produces services, doesn't just produce programs. I come up here inside this beltway and I feel like Alice in Wonderland. We have descriptions for what can be done for the very simplest kind of problem. And there are so many initials behind those descriptions that you need a roadmap just to find out who to talk to next, not what question to ask of the one you have in front of you. And the American people have had it. They're sick of it. They are truly in need. And it is time that the Democratic Party get about the business of talking about it, and talking about it out loud. And so, my friends, I really do believe that appeal, that it is so fundamental, is common ground for all of us, and is the best possible political tactic that anyone could take. Because it's a language that my mama in Waco, Texas, and Steve's mama in Florida understands. Only a few months ago, there was a remarkable image on the evening news during the war in the Middle East. Isaac Stern, playing with the Israeli Philharmonic in a concert of a lifetime in a symphony hall in Jerusalem, filled to capacity, with every member of the audience wearing a gas mask. And the rapture of the music overwhelming the wail of the air raid sirens. That moment was an image of the triumph of the human spirit over evil. If those people can hold their ground against the threat of destruction, surely we, as citizens of the nation most blessed on this earth, can hold our ground against a threat to the integrity of our democratic system and the fundamentals of government itself. The work that this organization has set out for itself is true to that purpose. And Jewish participation in the Democratic Party has been a spark to this party's conscience from its very beginnings. Your efforts to increase that participation and to rekindle that spark can give us hope to invigorate this democracy of ours, lift ourselves to the higher ground that gives this nation its purpose. We believe in this country. We believe in fundamental compassion. We believe in generosity and decency that motivates the majority of the people. We believe, like the concert goers in Israel, that if we will listen, the music will overwhelm the sirens of fear and division. The music will overwhelm the fear that the American people feel for the government itself, that asks too much and delivers too little. We are listening, and we are working, and we will never allow the music of this nation to be silenced. And your work here carries the concert forward. Thank you very much.
I hate to break the applause, but Governor Richards is already behind, but we'll take two quick questions, perhaps.
Where are we, Frank, on my plane? Because...
Well,
Jane, can we make the plane? Can we make the plane? Huh?
okay.
Bye. I had a great time. Good to see you.
You may have not been sure whether when we served on that committee it was an honor or not, but I want to tell you on behalf of this whole audience, it was a very deep honor for us to have you here today and to give us this challenge of what lies in front of us. God bless you, and go ahead with your work in Texas. I think we get rid of this dais and get another dais and go right on with the program, whatever's scheduled at 3 o'clock. And folks in the back, there are a few seats up front. If you'll come up front, you'll find a seat.
That concludes the keynote address from yesterday before the National Jewish Democratic Council meeting going on in Washington. For more information, you may contact the organization at 711 2nd Street Northeast, Suite 300 in Washington, D.C. The zip code is 20002. We'll take a break now for a look at the upcoming schedule.